What happens when a car looks like the future but is born into a company whose own future is deeply uncertain? The Studebaker Avanti stands as a striking paradox, a bold, modern automobile emerging at a moment when its maker faced severe challenges. In the early 1960s, Studebaker was no stranger to innovation, yet the company was wrestling with intense competition, rising production costs, and shifting consumer tastes. Against this backdrop, the Avanti's radical design broke sharply with the styling norms of the era. It sported a grilleless front, sleek fiberglass body, and a streamlined profile that suggested speed and progress. But behind this daring vision was a company grappling with financial pressure and limited resources, striving to find new footing in a crowded American auto market. The Avanti's arrival sparked curiosity and excitement, yet questions lingered about whether this futuristic car could turn the tide for Studebaker or if it had arrived too late to change a declining course. To understand this tension between innovation and survival, we first need to explore Studebaker's long journey, from its beginnings in wagon manufacturing to the crossroads it faced as the 1960s dawned. For many, the Avanti seemed almost out of place, its advanced styling and construction a dramatic contrast to the uncertainty swirling around Studebaker's future. Yet this contrast only deepened the fascination surrounding its debut. To understand this tension, we first need to explore Studebaker's journey from its roots to the difficult crossroads it faced by the early 1960s. Studebaker's story begins long before the roar of engines and the gleam of chrome. Originally founded in the 19th century, the company earned its reputation as one of America's premier wagon manufacturers. For decades, Studebaker thrived by crafting horse-drawn carriages and wagons that traversed the expanding frontier. This deep industrial heritage laid a foundation of craftsmanship and innovation that would eventually carry the company into the automobile age. Transitioning from wagons to motor vehicles was no small feat, but Studebaker managed to establish itself as a respected automaker by the early 20th century. Over time, it developed a range of cars known for their solid engineering and distinctive styling. Yet, as the American automotive landscape evolved, so too did the challenges Studebaker faced. By the dawn of the 1960s, the company found itself navigating a rapidly changing and fiercely competitive market. The Big Three, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, dominated with vast resources, extensive dealer networks, and strong brand loyalty. In contrast, Studebaker was a smaller player, grappling with limited capital and rising production costs. The company's long-standing financial difficulties compounded these pressures, making it difficult to invest in new technologies or expansive marketing campaigns. Consumer tastes were also shifting. The early 1960s saw buyers increasingly drawn to modern designs, powerful engines, and the prestige offered by the larger manufacturers. Studebaker's existing lineup, while respected, struggled to capture this evolving demand. Moreover, the company's production methods and supply chains, rooted in older industrial practices, made it challenging to keep pace with the efficiencies achieved by its larger competitors. These factors combined to put Studebaker in a precarious position, not the result of a single failing or misstep, but a complex web of industrial, economic, and market forces. Understanding these pressures is essential to grasp why the company sought something radically different, a bold vision to recapture public attention and perhaps turn its fortunes around. This backdrop sets the stage for a critical moment in Studebaker's history. For Studebaker, the weight of tradition was both a source of pride and a subtle constraint. The company's legacy of craftsmanship and reliability, forged in the era of wagons and early automobiles, fostered a loyal customer base, but also made rapid adaptation more difficult. As the 1960s approached, the pace of change in the automotive world accelerated. Larger manufacturers could afford to experiment with new materials, invest in advanced assembly techniques, and refresh their model lines with greater frequency. Studebaker, by contrast, often had to make do with incremental updates and careful resource allocation. This environment demanded not just technical innovation, but also a willingness to take risks that could redefine the company's image. The sense of urgency grew as each passing year brought new challenges, and the search for a breakthrough became increasingly pressing. Amid this pressure, a new leader emerged with a vision that would change everything: Sherwood Egbert. By 1961, Studebaker was standing at a crossroads, its legacy weighed down by years of financial strain and fierce competition. Into this challenging landscape stepped Sherwood Egbert, a man determined to alter the company's course. Taking the helm as president, Egbert believed that Studebaker needed more than incremental change. It required a bold statement, a fresh vision to capture imaginations and turn heads. He was convinced that a dramatic, performance-oriented personal car could rekindle public enthusiasm and restore some of the brand's former prestige. This was no small ambition given the company's limited resources and the rapid pace of the American auto industry at the time. Egbert moved quickly, understanding that time was not on Studebaker's side. Within months of his appointment, he commissioned a new vehicle that would break away from the styling conventions dominating the market. This car was to embody innovation and speed, standing apart from the crowd with a design that challenged traditional norms. Egbert's choice to pursue such a radical direction reflected both his resolve and the urgency of Studebaker's situation. While he did not work alone, his leadership set the tone for a project that demanded creativity under pressure. The decision was also a nod to the company's past collaborations with visionary designers, signaling a return to a trusted source of inspiration. Yet Egbert's gamble was not without risk. The automotive landscape of the early 1960s was fiercely competitive, with established giants investing heavily in new models and technology. Studebaker's financial challenges meant that resources had to be carefully allocated, and the stakes for success were high. Still, Egbert's conviction that a striking, forward-looking car could change perceptions was a gamble he was willing to take. This moment marked a turning point, setting in motion a rapid development process that aimed to deliver something truly exceptional. The vehicle would need to be more than just a pretty face. It had to perform and impress on multiple levels. To realize this vision, Egbert turned to a name already synonymous with innovative automotive design: Raymond Loewy. Loewy's long-standing relationship with Studebaker made him a natural choice to lead the design effort. Together with a small, dedicated team, he would be tasked with bringing Egbert's ambitious concept to life, working far from the traditional corporate environment in a focused and intense creative setting. This collaboration would soon produce a car that defied expectations and embodied the hope of a new future for Studebaker. Egbert's approach was shaped by the realities of Studebaker's position as one of America's oldest vehicle manufacturers, a company whose roots stretched back to the era of horse-drawn wagons. This legacy brought both pride and pressure, as the company's survival now depended on its ability to adapt. The decision to pursue a radical new automobile was as much about signaling resilience as it was about product innovation, reflecting a deep awareness of Studebaker's storied past and uncertain future. To bring this vision to life, Egbert turned to a familiar name in automotive design, Raymond Loewy, and his team in Palm Springs. After Sherwood Egbert's bold decision to commission a new performance car, the task of shaping this vision fell to Raymond Loewy and his carefully chosen team. Rather than working within Studebaker's usual design facilities, Loewy and his collaborators relocated to a small studio in Palm Springs, California. Removed from the familiar corporate environment, this setting fostered intense focus and creativity under extraordinary time constraints. The challenge was formidable: deliver an eighth-scale model in roughly 6 weeks, a demanding schedule that left little room for hesitation or second-guessing. Loewy's design team, including John Epstein, Bob Andrews, and Tom Kellogg, worked closely together, each contributing ideas and refinements. It was a distinctly collaborative effort rather than the vision of a single designer. The result was a shape that boldly defied the styling norms of the early 1960s American automobile market. The Avanti's grilleless front end immediately set it apart, rejecting the traditional chrome-heavy grills that dominated the era. Instead, the car presented a smooth, almost aerodynamic nose, complemented by a subtle asymmetry in the hood treatment. This created a dynamic sense of motion, even while standing still. The coupe's profile was streamlined and purposeful, with a pronounced waistline that emphasized its sleek four-seat design. Choosing fiberglass for the body was both a practical decision and a stylistic statement. Fiberglass allowed for the complex curves and sculpted surfaces that would have been prohibitively expensive and time-consuming to produce in stamped steel. This material choice helped realize the design's futuristic ambitions within the compressed timeline. Throughout the process, the team balanced innovation with the realities of production, working within Studebaker's existing chassis rather than designing an entirely new platform. The Palm Springs Sprint was a creative crucible where urgency and imagination combined to produce a car that looked forward rather than back. The Avanti's distinctive styling was not just about aesthetics. It was a declaration of intent, signaling Studebaker's desire to break from convention and recapture public attention. Though the design was revolutionary, it would soon require equally unconventional engineering solutions to bring it to life. Its fiberglass body and modified chassis set the stage for the next chapter in this ambitious story. Working in relative isolation, the team found both freedom and pressure in their desert retreat. The absence of corporate oversight allowed for bolder experimentation, but the ticking clock meant every decision carried weight. Inspiration was drawn not only from contemporary trends, but also from a desire to express optimism and progress, as reflected in the car's very name, Avanti, meaning forward in Italian. The team's willingness to challenge established norms resulted in a design that was as much a statement of Studebaker's aspirations as it was a response to the company's precarious position. Every curve and surface was scrutinized for both visual impact and manufacturability, with the designers acutely aware that their work represented a pivotal moment in Studebaker's long history. The radical design demanded equally unconventional engineering choices, from its fiberglass body to its modified chassis. Beyond its striking looks, the Avanti's construction broke with tradition in ways that reflected both necessity and innovation. One of the most defining engineering decisions was the use of a fiberglass body, a choice born from practical constraints rather than mere stylistic preference. At the time, Studebaker lacked the financial resources and the time needed to develop the costly steel stamping dies required for a radically new body shape. Fiberglass offered a flexible alternative, enabling the company to realize a bold, aerodynamic design without the delays and expense of traditional tooling. This material, unusual in American production cars of the early 1960s, gave the Avanti a distinctive presence on the road, with its smooth, sculpted surfaces and the absence of a conventional grille. The grilleless nose was a daring departure from the era's styling norms, emphasizing clean lines and a futuristic image. The car's asymmetrical hood treatment and pronounced waistline further set it apart visually, reinforcing its forward-looking character. Underneath the fiberglass shell, the Avanti was built on a modified version of Studebaker's existing passenger car chassis. This approach reflected a pragmatic balance between innovation and resource limitations. Rather than investing in an entirely new platform, Studebaker adapted what it already had, tweaking the chassis to handle the Avanti's performance ambitions and unique body. This decision helped contain development costs and accelerated the timeline, but it also meant the car was rooted in the company's traditional engineering foundations amid its avant-garde exterior. Inside, the Avanti continued to challenge conventions with an interior and construction focused on safety and driver comfort. While not the absolute first to introduce every feature, the Avanti incorporated front disc brakes at a time when this technology was still relatively rare among American cars. This braking system offered improved stopping power and was a forward-looking safety measure that distinguished the Avanti from many contemporaries. The car's construction included reinforced elements designed to enhance occupant protection, reflecting a growing awareness of automotive safety during the era. The interior styling complemented the exterior's modernity, with a clean, uncluttered layout that emphasized ergonomics and driver engagement. Taken together, these engineering and design choices made the Avanti both visually and technically unique in the early 1960s American market. Its fiberglass body, modified chassis, and safety-oriented features combined to create a car that was as much a statement of ambition as it was a product of Studebaker's challenging circumstances. Yet these innovations also underscored the tension between the company's desire to innovate and the practical limits imposed by financial and production realities. This blend of engineering daring and pragmatic compromise set the stage for the Avanti's performance story, where power and speed were equally important. The range from the naturally aspirated R1 to the supercharged R2 embodied the car's dual identity, both a refined personal coupe and a bold performance machine. Power and performance were equally important, embodied in the range from the naturally aspirated R1 to the supercharged R2. Power and performance were equally important for the Avanti's identity, showcased by its two primary engine options, the naturally aspirated R1 and the supercharged R2. Both versions were built around Studebaker's reliable 289 cubic inch V8, but they offered distinct experiences for drivers seeking either solid performance or something more exhilarating. The R1 provided a balanced, dependable setup, while the R2, equipped with a Paxton supercharger, boosted output significantly, giving the Avanti a rare level of muscle for its time. This supercharged variant was not the norm, but it underscored the Avanti's ambition to compete with the fastest American cars of the early 1960s. Adding to its performance credentials, the Avanti featured front disc brakes, a relatively advanced technology not yet common among American production cars. This braking system improved stopping power and safety, aligning with Studebaker's broader focus on innovation and driver protection. The Avanti's combination of strong V8 power and upgraded brakes made it stand out in a crowded market where many competitors still relied on drum brakes. Studebaker's efforts to promote the Avanti's speed culminated in a series of high-profile runs at the Bonneville salt flats, a place synonymous with land speed records. These attempts were closely tied to Andy Granatelli and the Paxton Supercharger organization, both instrumental in pushing the Avanti's performance envelope. The specially prepared Avanti cars used in these runs were modified far beyond showroom specifications, aiming to capture headlines and demonstrate the car's potential on a national stage. It's important to understand that these Bonneville specials were not representative of every Avanti sold to the public. While the production models offered impressive speed and handling, the record-setting vehicles were unique, purpose-built machines designed for extreme conditions. Nevertheless, the publicity from Bonneville helped to cement the Avanti's image as a serious contender in the performance car arena. The name Avanti, meaning forward in Italian, was fitting not only for its innovative design, but also for its bold approach to speed and engineering. Studebaker's partnership with Granatelli and Paxton highlighted a willingness to embrace cutting-edge technology and marketing strategies in an effort to revive the brand's fortunes. Despite these ambitious performance goals and the excitement generated by the Bonneville runs, the Avanti's journey was complicated by challenges in production and delivery. These issues began to erode the initial momentum created by the car's striking design and promising specifications. The promise of speed and innovation was clear, yet the practical realities of manufacturing a groundbreaking car under Studebaker's strained resources soon became apparent. For Studebaker, the Avanti's performance campaign was more than a technical showcase. It was a statement of intent during a period of mounting uncertainty. The company's willingness to invest in advanced engineering and bold publicity reflected both hope and urgency. In the context of Studebaker's long history, the Avanti represented a final, determined effort to recapture public imagination and reassert the brand's relevance in a rapidly changing market. Yet, despite initial excitement, production delays threatened to stall the momentum the Avanti had created. When the Studebaker Avanti was unveiled to the public in 1962 as a 1963 model, it instantly captured the imagination of the automotive world. Here was a car that boldly broke away from the styling conventions of its time. A sleek, grilleless front, a streamlined coupe silhouette, and a distinctive asymmetric hood treatment. The name itself, Avanti, meaning forward in Italian, embodied the hope that this car would propel Studebaker into a new era. Early reactions from dealers and consumers were enthusiastic, with a surge of advance orders signaling a fresh wave of optimism for the struggling automaker. The Avanti promised not just style, but performance, safety, and innovation, generating considerable publicity that momentarily shifted attention back to South Bend. Yet beneath this excitement lay significant challenges. The Avanti's fiberglass body, chosen to accommodate its radical design without the expense and delay of steel tooling, proved difficult to produce consistently. Fiberglass was still a relatively novel material for American production cars, and the manufacturing process involved complex hand-laying techniques that led to delays and uneven quality. Early customers faced long waits, and issues with body fit and finish became common. These problems, stemming from a combination of limited resources, a compressed development timeline, and the novelty of working extensively with fiberglass, chipped away at the momentum the Avanti had generated. Studebaker responded by bringing more of the fiberglass body production in-house, aiming to tighten quality control and speed up deliveries. However, these efforts came amid broader operational struggles and could not fully resolve the difficulties. It's important to recognize that these production setbacks were not the fault of any single individual or department. Rather, they reflected the complex realities of a small automaker attempting to innovate rapidly under severe financial and competitive pressure. The Avanti's production challenges were a significant hurdle, but they were only one part of the larger picture. Studebaker's ongoing financial constraints, intense competition from the Big Three, and shifting consumer preferences all played roles in limiting the Avanti's ability to reverse the company's fortunes. By the time Studebaker closed its South Bend assembly operations in late 1963, the original Avanti's production run was coming to an end, with just a few thousand units completed. Despite the setbacks, the Avanti had created a striking identity and left a lasting impression. Yet the story of its public debut and production struggles underscores the difficulty of launching a revolutionary car within a company facing deep-rooted challenges. For many observers, the Avanti's struggles highlighted the risks faced by independent automakers attempting bold innovation with limited means. The car's journey from concept to showroom became a case study in both the promise and peril of rapid development. Even as the Avanti's appeal endured, the realities of Studebaker's situation made lasting success increasingly elusive. Meanwhile, the pressures on Studebaker and its leaders intensified, leading to profound corporate and personal challenges. As 1963 drew to a close, Studebaker found itself at a critical crossroads. Sherwood Egbert, who had arrived with a vision to revive the company through bold innovation, faced serious health problems that forced him to step down from the presidency. His departure marked more than just a change in leadership. It underscored the immense pressures weighing on a company struggling to keep pace in a fiercely competitive industry. Studebaker's difficulties were not new, nor easily fixed. Years of financial strain, rising production costs, and shifting consumer tastes had created a complex web of challenges. While the Avanti had brought a fresh and daring design to the market, it was never a cure-all for these deep-rooted issues. The hope that this sleek, fiberglass-bodied coupe might reverse Studebaker's fortunes was tempered by ongoing operational hurdles and market realities. In December 1963, the company made the difficult decision to close its South Bend automobile assembly plant. This closure effectively ended production of the original Studebaker-built Avanti. Though the plant's shutdown was a significant blow, it was part of a broader retraction rather than an isolated event. Production of Studebaker automobiles continued on a limited scale at the Hamilton, Ontario facility for a time afterward, reflecting a company trying to adapt and survive amid mounting difficulties. Importantly, the Avanti was not the sole cause of Studebaker's decline or its South Bend closure. Rather, it was a symbol of ambition caught in a turbulent period marked by intense competition and long-standing financial challenges. The Avanti's story during this era reveals much about the complexities facing American automakers outside the dominant giants. It was a car born of urgency and creativity, but also constrained by limited resources and corporate instability. Though the South Bend plant closed and Egbert's tenure ended, the Avanti itself was not destined to disappear quietly. Its distinctive design and spirit left a lasting impression, one that would inspire new chapters beyond Studebaker's direct involvement. This transition set the stage for the next phase in the Avanti's journey, as two South Bend dealers stepped forward to preserve and continue the legacy of this remarkable automobile. For Studebaker, the closure of South Bend was not simply the end of a factory, but the culmination of decades of adaptation and reinvention. The company's journey from wagon builder to automobile manufacturer had always demanded resilience in the face of changing times. By the early 1960s, however, the landscape of the American auto industry had shifted dramatically. Larger competitors wielded greater economies of scale, and consumer expectations evolved rapidly, leaving smaller independents like Studebaker with shrinking margins and fewer options. The Avanti's arrival, while bold and forward-thinking, could not fully counteract the weight of these external pressures. Its brief production run became emblematic of Studebaker's determination to innovate despite adversity. Even as the company's traditional operations wound down, the Avanti's presence hinted at a future that might still hold promise beyond the factory gates. Yet the story of the Avanti was far from over, as two South Bend dealers took steps to preserve its legacy. Though Studebaker's chapter as an automobile manufacturer came to a close, the story of the Avanti was far from over. Two South Bend dealers, Nate Altman and Leo Newman, recognized the unique appeal and potential of the Avanti's design and took decisive steps to preserve its legacy. Acquiring the rights, tooling, parts, and even the facilities connected to the Avanti, they launched a new chapter for the car under the name Avanti II. This new incarnation marked a clear departure from the original Studebaker-built Avanti, reflecting both a continuation and a transformation. The Avanti II carried forward the distinctive silhouette and spirit of the original, but it was no longer a Studebaker product. Instead, it was produced under new ownership, with important differences setting it apart. The engines, for instance, were no longer the Studebaker 289 cubic-inch V8s that powered the 1963 and 1964 models. Instead, the Avanti II employed different power plants, sourced from other manufacturers, tailored to meet evolving demands and available resources. Similarly, the chassis and interior components saw significant changes, adapting the car to a new era and production environment. This transition highlights the unusual legacy of the Avanti. While the original car had a brief production run tied closely to Studebaker's final years, the Avanti name and design endured for decades beyond the company's closure. This endurance was due in large part to Altman and Newman's determination to keep the Avanti alive, not just as a nostalgic relic, but as a living, evolving automobile. They cultivated a niche market of enthusiasts who appreciated the Avanti's bold styling and performance pedigree, even as it moved beyond its original manufacturer. It's important to distinguish the Avanti II and subsequent models from the original Studebaker Avanti. Later versions, including those produced during the Blake and Kelly eras and modern revivals, carried forward the Avanti name and design cues but were fundamentally different in construction, engineering, and corporate backing. None of these later cars were manufactured by the original Studebaker automobile operation, making the 1963-1964 Avanti a unique and singular chapter in American automotive history. The story of the Avanti's survival beyond Studebaker's demise underscores the car's distinctiveness. It was more than just a product of its time. It became a symbol of innovation and resilience. Even as Studebaker faced mounting challenges that no single model could overcome, the Avanti's design found new life through the vision and efforts of those who refused to let it fade away. This chapter in the Avanti's history reminds us that sometimes a car's impact is measured not only by sales or immediate success, but by its ability to capture imaginations and endure through changing circumstances. The Avanti II's existence stands as a testament to that enduring appeal, bridging the gap between a company's final days and a design's lasting influence. Yet the story of the Avanti was far from over, as two South Bend dealers took steps to preserve its legacy. In the end, the Avanti's paradox remains. It could not save its maker, yet it outlived the company in spirit and form. The Avanti's story is a study in contrasts, an extraordinary car born too late to save the company behind it, yet destined to endure. While it never reversed Studebaker's long decline, the Avanti carved out a unique place in automotive history. Its bold design broke free from the era's conventions, offering a sleek, grilleless front and a fiberglass body that challenged traditional manufacturing methods. The collaborative vision of Raymond Loewy and his design team produced a car that was unmistakably forward-looking, even as Studebaker struggled with deeper financial and competitive pressures. Production challenges and limited resources hampered the Avanti's ability to capitalize fully on its initial excitement. Still, its advanced features, like front disc brakes and performance-oriented engineering, set it apart from many contemporaries. When Studebaker ceased automobile production in South Bend, the Avanti's journey seemed to end. Yet the car's identity proved resilient. Under new ownership, the Avanti II continued the design legacy, albeit with different mechanical underpinnings. This survival underscores the paradox. The Avanti could not rescue its maker, but was too distinct and ambitious to simply vanish. It remains a symbol of innovation and risk in a difficult era for American automakers. What do you think? Was the Avanti a last hope that fell short, or a visionary car that history misunderstood? Share your thoughts below, and if you appreciate stories like this, consider subscribing for more explorations of automotive history. What do you think? Was the Avanti a last hope that fell short, or a visionary car that history misunderstood? Share your thoughts below.